Happy Wednesday! Today we're going to look at story structure and elements with the text Peter's Chair. And our statement for today is good readers pay attention to the parts of a story to help them understand and remember the story. The first thing we're going to do is look at some charts to get us thinking more about text structure and text elements. Okay, so this first one, it says story element anchor charts. We're going to look at setting, characters, problem, and solution. Those are all story elements. So the setting, this is a review. We've talked about setting all year. So this is just a review. Where and when the story takes place. Some examples of setting could be at school, in the summer, at the beach, during a storm, on an airplane, at nighttime. And in order to identify the setting, we can ask ourselves, where and when does a story take place? Characters. The characters are who the story is about. The people, the animals, the creatures. Examples are a superhero, a monster, a pirate, a family, a frog. So in order to figure out who the characters are, we ask, who is the story about? Problem. The problem is something the characters want to change, fix, or figure out. So here are some examples. The boy doesn't know anyone and feels lonely. The pig is dirty from the mud. The dog is tangled in the kite strings. Okay, and if there's a problem, there's always a solution. How the problem gets solved. The boy makes a friend at school. The pig plays in the rain to get clean, and the dog's owner comes and helps him. Thank you. Okay, we're going to look at another chart really quick. So in order for a story to make sense, it needs to have these elements. This is what makes stories attractive or entertaining for us to read, because it's organized in a certain way with the structure, the different pieces put together, and elements. So we can tell how authors organize literature. Yes, stories are organized, just like fictional stories are organized one way and nonfiction stories are organized another way with the different titles and subtitles and captions, etc. So in a fictional story, we have characters and a setting. We just talked about that. There's something called the plot. The plot is the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. It's the sequence of events within the story. So the main elements of a story are the characters, the problem, solution, setting, and events. Events, beginning, middle, and end would be considered the events. Okay. Today we're going to look at this story called, the title is Peter's Chair. This is a realistic fictional story, which means it's a made-up story. The characters and setting are like real people and places, and the story events could happen in real life. So, since good readers set a purpose for reading, today while we're reading, we're going to look for the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story to help us identify the structure of this story, and also to help us identify the plot. So the structure would be, having the setting, the elements, the structure and the elements, the setting, the characters, the problem, solution. The plot would be the beginning, middle, and end. So we're going to be looking for those things today while we're reading. That's going to be our purpose. So the title is Peter's Chair. So look at the pictures on these two pages. What is the boy doing? What do you think he's looking at? From the title, Peter's Chair, and the pictures, what can you tell already about this story? I can see in the picture that Peter is looking at several different items outside his house. What do the dog, shopping bag, baby picture, little chair, and toy crocodile have in common? What would all those things have in common? All right, so remember, good readers pay attention to the characters, the setting, and what happens in the story with a beginning, middle, and end as they read. We are going to be looking for these pieces to the story structure while we read. All right, let's go to the first page. Peter stretched as high as he could. There, his tall building was finished. Crash! Down it came. Shh, called his mother. You'll have to play more quietly. Remember, we have a new baby in the house. Oh my, I'm having a connection to the story we read yesterday called The New Baby. There was a new baby in that house, and there's a new baby in this house. And Peter is kind of reminding me of the character from the story yesterday, Han. Why does Peter have to play quietly? You're going to have to make an inference here. If there's a new baby in the house, mom probably wants it to be quiet so the baby can. What do babies do a lot of? What causes Peter's building to crash? The author doesn't tell us, but we can look at the picture to figure that out. And how does Peter feel about it? Oh, poor Peter. Peter looked into his sister Susie's room. His mother was fussing about the cradle. That's my cradle, he thought, and they painted it pink. Hi, Peter, said his father. Would you like to help paint sister's high chair? It's my high chair, whispered Peter. How do you think Peter is feeling about his new baby sister? So I think the word is jealousy or envy. It sounds like similar to the way Han was feeling about the new baby in his house. Peter does not want to help paint the high chair. Why not? He does not want to help. Why not? Okay, let's see if you can make an inference for this question. Why is Peter's dad standing on paper? Why is Peter's dad standing on paper? Think about what he's doing. He saw his crib and muttered, "My crib, it's painted pink too." Not far away stood his old chair. "They didn't paint that yet," Peter shouted. He picked it up and ran to his room. What do the words muttered and shouted tell you about how Peter is feeling? What do the words muttered and shouted tell you about how Peter is feeling? Why does Peter run away with the chair? What is he going to do with it? Can you make a prediction? So why is he running away with it, and what is he going to do with it? Make a prediction. It seems like he doesn't want them to paint it pink, so what might he do with it? Let's run away, Willie, he said. Peter filled a shopping bag with cookies and dog biscuits. So we can make an inference here now that the dog's name is Willie. We'll take my blue chair, my toy crocodile, and the picture of me when I was a baby. Willie got his bone. Oh, so that must mean where the cover or the title page, where that picture came from. Why does Peter fill a bag with cookies and dog biscuits? They're going to be traveling or going somewhere. They might get a little hungry. Why is Peter running away? What clues in the text tell you this? They went outside and stood in front of the house. "This is a good place," said Peter. He arranged his things very nicely and decided to sit in his chair for a while. But he couldn't fit in the chair. He was too big. Well, that reminds me a little bit of Goldilocks. What do you think the author wants us to understand when he tells us that Peter is too big for the chair? Why do you think Peter only goes as far as the front of his house when he runs away? Why didn't they go any farther? His mother came to the window and called, "Won't you come back to us, Peter dear? We have something very special for lunch." Peter and Willie made believe that they didn't hear, but Peter got an idea. Soon his mother saw signs that Peter was home. "That rascal is hiding behind the curtain," she said happily. What is happening in this part of the story? What does Peter's mother say to him to try to get him to come back home? Peter pretended that he didn't hear his mom. Why do you think Peter pretended not to hear her? How does Peter's mother know that Peter was home? What are the clues that tell her that he's been home? Look at the picture. That's funny. Down at the bottom of the page where the alligator is. That's funny. She moved the curtain away, but he wasn't there. "Here I am," shouted Peter. What do you think the author wants us to understand about Peter when he shows us that Peter plays a trick on his mother? What does the author want us to understand about Peter? How did Peter trick his mother? Why did she think he was behind the curtain? Peter sat in a grown-up chair. His father sat next to him. "Daddy," said Peter, "let's paint the little chair pink for Susie." What happens at the end of the story? What happens at the end of the story? What lesson do you think Peter has learned? What lesson has Peter learned? I see in the picture that Peter is sitting in a chair the same size as his father's chair. Why do you think this is important to Peter? And they did. How did the story, The New Baby, help you understand this selection? I think these two stories from yesterday and today are very similar in ways. They're very similar. How do you know the chair is for Susie? You need to make an inference. How do we know the chair is for Susie? Okay, so you're going to be answering some questions that require you to make connections, describe the author's purpose, determine the theme, and identify story structure, so the elements. So right now, I want you, if you haven't done so already, to get out a sheet of paper or get out your Word work journal. I'm going to be reading through the questions, and you need to write your answers down. You can list them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you're going to need space in between. So if you just want to do one at a time, and then when you're done with one, do 2 underneath it. When you're done with that, do 3 underneath it. That's probably the best idea. And so you may need more time to do some of the questions, so you can pause it after each question if you want to. Or you can pause it right now and read the questions yourself if you'd like to. You don't have to wait for me. Number 1, did you understand why Peter was sad? Have you ever felt the way Peter did? Number 2, why do you think the author wrote this story? So remember, it's either for author's purpose, it's either to persuade, inform, or entertain. So why did the author write this story? Persuade, inform, or entertain. Number 3, what does Peter learn in this story? What does Peter learn in this story? What does he learn in this story? Number 4 is about the story structure. So the question is, how does Peter feel at the beginning of the story? How does Peter feel at the end? So this is a characters, their feelings change often through story. So how does he feel at the beginning? And then how does he feel at the end? 2 parts to that question. Okay. So if you need more time, you can pause it. I'm going to go to number 5. Number 5. Look back and write. So it says, look back at pages 168 and 169. Why does Peter take the chair to his room? Write about it. So we can go back to those pages real quick so you can see. All right, so here we have page 168 and 169. Why does Peter take his chair to his room? Yeah. All right, so have your parents take a picture of your answers and send it in to me. Thanks for joining.